Welcome, Magnetos, to this quick video overview of the literature review process. And to begin, I'm sure you're wondering and asking yourself what you're doing at school on a Monday night and why do this blasted literature review. It's pretty simple. First, you want to build your knowledge of your topic, and that would include any previous studies, germane theories, related ideas, etc. That's probably the main reason for this. The other major reason for doing the review is to build your ethos as a researcher and demonstrate that to those who might read your work or discuss it with you as you present your work in various competitions. So in general, you're trying to show your knowledge and depth of study. Another positive thing about the literature review is that in the sophomore and senior years, this serves as the required research paper. Sophomore year, you guys don't have to worry about that, but in your senior year, this becomes the basis in many classes, I believe in the AP Lit as well, for your senior project paper, so that's a good thing. Getting started with your literature review requires you to possibly use one of the tools that you worked with when you were a sophomore. EasyBib is a great way to digitally organize your work. It has the added-in tool that helps you build your references as you go. You can cut and paste that into your final paper when you're ready for that. And also it allows you to share your work with your instructors or to anybody you choose and to show your progress and get feedback. Another thing you need to do after you get your method of collecting the research bits together is to dive into using the databases that are provided by Camas High School. Instead of just doing the free web searches, we're going to ask that you guys visit the LIC website and log on and use ProQuest, SIRS Researcher, and eLibrary perhaps. ProQuest alone would probably do the job for you guys. I've included the passwords over here and the usernames for you guys to access as you move through this process. Let's talk about the introduction and the content and body of your work here. In the intro, it's going to be very much like what you've learned in all your English classes up to this point. It's that inverted pyramid model. You're going to move from the very broad to the very specific, where you dive into the thesis statement for your literature review. And unlike maybe other papers where you've had a little more latitude with your thesis statement, very often this one includes a stand that suggests the direction your work is taking or the interest that you have in your topic, included with maybe just a brief overcap of the canned paragraph or body focus sections that we've predetermined for you guys. Moving into the body, you guys are going to have probably 3 sections, not necessarily 3 paragraphs, but each of those is pre-canned for you. So you're going to have a historical overview section, which is going to be just a broad kind of overview of your topic and related fields of study. Sometimes people get bogged down in this because they think to themselves that nobody's done anything like what they've done before, and so they don't do anything for this, or they do a simple paragraph. Think laterally on this and really challenge yourself to look to the left and the right of your topic to find related fields so you have something to write about in this. Probably 2 or 3 paragraphs for this. The current trends and practices is where you get more current. If you were thinking about the history of this is the most recent stuff that's going on within your field, whereas this stuff is quite historical. If it's a fairly new field, it could be something that requires you to dive back into your knowledge of AP World History or something like that. And then the final section is going to be what we'll call controversies and debates. Maybe there's a raging debate going on about various protocols that have emerged for whatever it is that you're focusing on, or ethical issues or stuff like that. Again, think laterally to make sure that you fill up this section. Of course, at the end you're going to have your conclusion, which is a bridge to your materials and methods section when you guys get ready to write that a little bit later on. Within the body section, just make sure you have clear topic sentences to show the beginning of a new section. If you're going to be bringing in sources from outside areas, which you're required to do on this paper, and you decide to quote, Try to use a variety of different quotation strategies. On the rubric on GWeb, you can see there's a link to quote integration strategies, just to give you an idea of having fluency with the way that you quote things rather than doing it the same over and over again. Make sure if you do quote that you're choosing the material purposefully and that it's helping to do one of these three things in here, and it's not just you dropping in a quote that doesn't really have any meaning or adds anything to your work. And then up here with your analysis, after you've brought in another idea, make sure you tie and link this to your own work in this literature review, so that you're not simply just dropping in other people's research and putting together a jigsaw. You need to have commentary where you're clearly linking this to your own work. And then for the conclusion, we're looking for you guys to come up with a true conclusion. Instead of regurgitating main points 1, 2, and 3, we're asking that you guys actually pull this together and maybe start to think a little bit bigger and connect this to your own work. And that's it. Overall, we're looking for something that's an in-depth review of your topic that is meaningful and coherent, and probably if you're looking for a page limit or mark, we're looking for roughly somewhere between 4 and 8. We've had some trouble with seniors turning in like 2 or 3 page literature reviews, and just be knowing that that's not what's expected and that's not okay. So strive to build a good literature review and you'll be off to the races. The final section on the rubric deals with the mechanics and conventions and formatting. You're to use APA format, as you guys know. The example with the annotations on it that I'll show you in a few seconds does a really nice job of kind of talking you through an example paper. It's not necessarily the greatest paper in the world, but it's not the worst by far, and it's fairly cleanly formatted. You're going to be using your leveled headings, you're going to have page numbers at the top, you're going to have a title that's more than a mere statement of topic. Make sure that you follow the guidelines for formatting tables and figures. Again, these hyperlinks will lead you to the OWL website where they can talk you through what's going on with that. You're also going to be using parenthetical citation throughout, whether you quote or not. If you borrow somebody else's idea or reference them somehow, directly after that you're going to go ahead and give it a parenthetical citation. There are some specifics to this that you'll want to review. You can click on the hyperlinks and dive in and make sure that you're correctly citing and using the right format for doing so. Your reference page is going to be your last page of the document. There's a link here to some more examples or ideas about what a reference page should include. But if you do have an appendix section, which would probably be relevant after you've done your materials and methods, then it would go before that. Remember that you've got to follow the reference page conventions. It needs to be alphabetized by the first letter in the entry. Make sure you use correct case throughout. Sometimes the machines that generate the citations don't always do that for you. Make sure you're using the shortened retrieve from web addresses rather than the entire 2.5 page hyperlink that you've borrowed from. Make sure you remove the hyperlinks and make sure that you only cite the sources that you use in the reference page. For minimum proficiency, we're looking for 4 to 6 sources, mostly from scholarly databases. They should not be necessarily the free web stuff that you just Googled. Ask your mentor for some research. Sometimes they have some really great suggestions for things that you can include. If you want to curry favor with your mentor, that's a great way to actually show that you're interested in looking to build your knowledge. For tone and voice, just make sure that you're using that formal academic voice. This proper scientific skepticism is really important too. You can see the words here, the verbs that will help you kind of get towards that proper scientific skepticism, but just make sure that you don't conclude too much based on the work that you've synthesized here. Obviously it needs to be clean and edited. Make sure that you apply your knowledge of all those things. And that's it for the literature review. There are some helpful resources on GWeb, specifically the MST Magnet portion of that site. If you visit this and then click on the link here down under the Intro to Research Literature Review section of this, On the right hand side you'll find a link to the rubric. You should check that early and often, use as a checklist, particularly before you turn in your final paper. And then here is a lit review example with notes that you probably used when you were a sophomore, but in this paper it runs you through with commentary on the right hand side the specific sections that you need to address and formatting issues that will likely come up for you as you try to recall exactly what you did. Here's some guidance about the running head and the title. Moving into this, there's an abstract that's noted in this, but you won't need that until later after your project work is done, since you haven't completed it. Down into the body, you can see it doesn't say literature review here, but rather the title of the paper. And notice there's hyperlinks over here that remind you about how to use leveled headings throughout your paper. Most of you will use at least levels 1 and 2 and probably level 3 based on the depth of the work that you're doing. And there's some really good examples of parenthetical citation in a variety of different ways, with quotes, as you see down here, and with somebody who's just citing an idea and paraphrasing it and giving credit to it. Make sure that you have quotes, or rather citations, throughout your paper. Moving in, you can see that the level 2 heading is used here, and the predetermined paragraph focus is the historical overview here. And you can use other sections if you'd like, but these three that we've predetermined are kind of non-negotiables that we want to make sure that you include. And there's just all sorts of stuff in here that I'll let you guys look at on your own that show you different ways in which this person built their paper. Again, this is probably not necessarily the model that will work for everybody, but it gives you an idea of a literature review in its final format, including, yes, a reference page at the end. Notice that they've removed the hyperlinks. That's a real common problem that we see on this paper in the first draft. And that's about it. There's lots of other resources out there on the web that you might want to check out, but this is a good overview to get you started. This isn't necessarily difficult writing, given that you've done this a couple of times before, but it does require you to dig into the research and get knowledgeable about what's going on. Best of luck on writing your literature review, and with that, I will sign off and wish you the best on this process. Email me if you have questions, and I'll do what I can to give you feedback and help you out. Thanks.